Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. Okay, now I am here. I'm real. Yes, I'm kind of halfway through doing tote bags, and I wanted to take a second just to talk to you about strengthening them. Now, the handmade ones you see for sale are beautiful cut rectangles, and then they've got the handles, and they've got that standard sort of cross stitch thing. That's one I made earlier. Yeah, and but say you've got some fabric and you want to use that. It's the only fabric you've got and you're desperate to make a tote bag. How would you go about strengthening it? So what I'm doing today is I have a plain piece of sheeting, and so it's quite thin. I was going to put a pocket in it because I might as well, because I'm going to use it. And I've got some leftover jelly roll strips. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is show you what I'm going to do, because that would make much more sense than me just waffling on. So we've got our bag made out of really thin cloth that we love. It might have a pattern on it or something. But we're going to make the strap come round one side, up in the handle, and then from the other side is going to continue round. This will give it a lot more strength. So, first of all, we have to take our jelly roll, and one's not long enough, so we're going to have to make it a bit longer. I'm going to put right side to right side, and I'm going to do a stitch along the diagonal like I would on a jelly roll. So, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just talking about a metre of fabric strip that's 2.5 inches wide. Yeah, I know, but it's so cute. So, let's uncut that from the machine, and let's just uncut that full stop. So there we go, I've got my longer strip. Now, ironing is a good thing, and pinning is another good thing. So what I'm going to do is literally fold it in half and then tuck the ends in. Now, okay, it's not a matter of I've done this before, because it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of what type of cloth we're using. I'm using a lovely cotton here, and it has the advantage of, if you put it somewhere, it stays there. If I was trying to use this Halloween ready cloth, then I wouldn't be able to do this. So I folded it in half, and now I'm literally just going to run the sewing machine down, all the way down this now 2 metre long strip. Okay? And then I'm going to sew, and then I'm just going to tuck it in, and trust me, it's easy. So yes, but please feel free to even run it through a binding tool, or bias binding tool, or iron it, pin it, you know, whatever you're comfortable with. So yes, that's all that's going to happen with that, and I can just do that off screen. So I said I was going to put a little pocket in here. So what I'm going to do is literally, first of all, I'm going to fold over the hem of the sleeve, the hem of one side of this rectangle. So that's done. Now this top bit is going to be sewn into the brim. So let's put it round. Yep, that's the right way. So it's right side to right side. That's all I was thinking about, because I'm going to turn it inside out. So I'm just going to run the sewing machine down the outside, seal it in. Now if you only grab a bag, a tote bag, and then you go out and you don't think you need anything, then it's handy to have somewhere just to put your keys or something so you can find them again. So that's all I'm doing here, and obviously if it was for somebody else then I would take a bit more time, maybe French seam it. I'm just trimming these ends off just so they look neatly. Good time to use your pinking shears if you have some, but I'm not trimming off this strip at the top. So I can now turn that inside out, and that's ready to be sewn into the bag proper. All I have here is a rectangle folded over, and it really is sheeting. I'm not trying to cheat you here. I'm doing it as easily as possible for myself. So I've got the ends. I'm just going to fold them over the once, and I'm going to sew down these. I'm not going to double sew it because I'm going to fold it over. So that's that done. And on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it down once, and then when I sew the bag proper I'm going to fold it down again. So what I need is this coming out upwards. So, and halfway, or entirely up to you. We could go for a jaunty nearly halfway. I'm just going to fold that over and I'm going to put a pin in there just so that I know where halfway is, because it's not so much to get it perfect, it's more for me to remember to do it. Now, yes, I never said I was perfect, so I'm going to take my pin out, which was to remind me to do this. I'm just going to tidy up these ends because they don't look very tidy. And then I'm going to lie it down so that I've got it ready to go. There we go. Check that my bottom sheet of fabric is one fold over. So I'm going to tuck my ends in as well. Now, because I'm using the pink thread to accentuate the combat cotton, as it were, which I know it just is. Okay, so here I am. That's my outside of the bag, and I'm going to fold this over and fold this over. So yes, the reason to use pins is so that you don't juggle it in the mid-air, but what we're looking for is the same on both sides. And I'm just going to wiggle it, I really am, and then pull that taut down the bottom, insert under the machine, oh yeah, I've got my bobbin thread caught up, sorry. Do you know, that's a bad habit. I can imagine if you were watching this video, you'd go, how's she doing that? But it is just a bad habit, so just ignore that. Okay, check that that's all straight, and then come to the other one. So you've got an inch fold and an inch fold. And then pull it tight at the bottom. Lovely. So, easy sew. Okay. So, how simple is that? I have my bag now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the camera and I'm just going to get on with the handle, because I don't want to bore you, you know, it's going to take me a few minutes. And obviously we're going to need to push out all our corners so they're nice and crisp and sharp. Hi. Okay, so welcome back. Obviously it hasn't been that long, but yeah, one thing I would say, if you are doing top stitching like this, be careful that the teeth don't pull more of the lower than the higher. So every now and again, just sort of keep an eye on it and make sure that you're not twisting it yourself. So there we are. That's 2 meters of handle done. I know. Oh, I wanted to show you where we went over with the middle bit. Because there's no way to hide it, you know, unless of course you're using a really, really long bit. I can't find it now. Oh, there it is. So you can see, and then it just comes around, and it's quite hard to spot, so obviously. Alrighty. So we've got our bag here. Now, first of all, we need to know where to put the handle. Now, I'm going to suggest folding it in half and then folding it in half again, and then marking both sides with a pin. So we're going to separate them and then we're going to mark them. Now, the reason I suggest that is, well, no reason actually. Okay, the best place to put your handles is a hand's width between, so that it's comfortable for your hand. Just a little bit over, just in case you're wearing thick gloves or something. So, but you have to sort of judge it between your bag and your hand. So if you did that and you weren't happy, then we could just go, okay, I'm going to move that over ½ inch and I'm going to move that over ½ inch. But it is worthwhile taking the time just to get those balanced. Okay, the next problem we have is we don't want the join of the handle to be at the stress points. We don't want it to be at the bottom here, which is going to stress the bag out, or at the top here, at any of the joins. So what I suggest we do is we start with the handle. Now, there is a mathematical equation. We need to have okay, here's my whole handle. So I need 4 lengths of the handle to go around the body. We know that. And then I need 2 of what's left for the handles. So that's that. And then I can mark this all with pins and lay it all out. But if I start at the beginning, and as long as I don't go over that 4, because we know that we have 4 lengths of the bag proper, and then we have this much over for the handle. So as long as I don't go bigger than that, I should be fine. Alright? And then I can trim off the bottom. And I know I could work it all out for you. So let's make sure that the pins are in the right place. And then we are ready to go. Now, if you have a washable pen or you have a washable marker of some sort, then you can draw on it, okay? But only if you've got the right sort of pen, because it's going to be annoying. So I've done as much as I can. I'm going to find my end, and I'm going to lay it down on my pin, Now I think there's a lot to be said for having the stitches on the inside, but I don't know. There's no right way. So whatever way you're happy with. And then I have to sew along. So, I know, it's not going to be easy. It's not. So you can see why I'm recommending pins and chalk marker, because you've really got to keep this straight. And then we're sewing it along the bag. And the next time round will be slightly easier, because we're going to sew this strip on both sides. Lovely. Okay. So what I've done there is I've sewn over the stitches, and then I'm going to bring the handle round, carefully not to twist it. That's why I'm suggesting that you have your stitches on the inside, because it means that you can keep your stitches on the inside. And when I do the next side, then I'm going to have to make sure that my handle is exactly the same length. So, and this would all be pinned because we do these properly, and we can tell by the noise the machine is making that I'm hitting the stitches. Okay, just making sure that nothing gets caught underneath and that the bag proper doesn't pucker. So I'm going to stop sewing, and then I'm going to turn it over and straighten it all out. Now the easier way to do it is sew your bag secondary, the outside of the bag. But either way, you're going to have problems, so, you know, it depends where your strength lies. Okay, so welcome back. Yeah, wiggle it. That's what I did. And yeah, don't sew till you're happy. So I've got a couple of pins in here just to keep it straight. And again, making sure I've got nothing tucked underneath. And then sewing. Now I've put a pin in the middle here because of when I went over, it's not actually tucked in very well to the other side. So what I'm going to do is cheat slightly and keep my thumb in it. It's tucked in now, and I'm just going to make sure I've now sewn in that piece of binding. So I'm just coming up to the bottom, and I will have to stop because I won't be able to get round there. I'll be able to get halfway up. I might be able to do it actually. Okay. Shall we cheat? Alright. So I need those two to join up. I'm going to keep on sewing. Obviously every now and again, just having a wiggle. Now, okay, so I can see the beginning. I'm going to cut the strip. I know, how hard is that? It's emotionally very hard, isn't it? And I'm going to fold it over, and tuck that loose end in, and then I'm literally just going to sew over it. Okay, so I'm at the beginning now, and I have quite a lot left over. I could have actually given myself a lot more handle, and I am literally going to sew the end down. So I'm going over quite a few layers, and then I'll lift my foot up again, and this is actually quite jazzy, isn't it? I was thinking whilst I was sewing it, I might do some more bits to it. Okay, so this, in a way, the second side is easy. I still have the same priorities, that I've got to watch that I'm not over sewing anything and I've not got anything caught up. So, yes, I'll be back in a minute. Oh, should we see the bag so far? We might as well, haven't we? Because we can. So here we go. My little bag so far. Doesn't it need an iron? And there we are. So how cute is that? That's the pocket, because I keep pushing it out of the way. Alrighty, I'll be back in a minute. Hi. Okay, I know this is something you'll never see me do. I've unpicked the leftovers because I just think it needs something, and I thought, well, why not make a little flower? So there's our little bag, reinforced, and maybe a little flower there, I don't know. Anyway, I do have over here half a bit of green. Not a whole bit of green. Oh, a whole bit of green. That's amazing. And yeah, so let's see what we can do. Okay, can we do it the Fiona way rather than the way we should do it? Yeah? Yeah. Alright then. So what I'm doing is I've got folded over, and because I want each of these leaf shapes to be individual, I want to just do, sorry, I've got my overlocker foot out and that's what I keep hearing. Luckily it's not plugged in. It's just randomly going at the side of me. Okay, so what I'm doing is I folded over my cloth and I'm sewing leaf shapes, and then I'm sewing, and then I'm sewing another leaf shape, making sure that I've got enough to turn it inside out. Yeah? So because if I cut them, I'm going to have to keep them together and everything else like that. If I just do it, then I can get them as near as I can, and hopefully okay. So that's that done. I'm going to do the same with the pink to make some petals, and hopefully I will have just a little flower. Okay. So as you can see, I've not turned them inside out. I'm going to need something to push it through, so to keep my points, that's all. there we are. So I've got my leaves, and I'll pucker them as well so that they'll bunch up, which might be a hand sew job. And then with my folded over, inside out, now the flowers are slightly easier because they're circular, so it means that I don't have to change direction on the sewing machine. I can literally just curve it round, whereas the leaves, I wanted them a little bit more interesting. And there we are. So I've just literally gone round and done badly done circles. And again, now I'm doing the cutting. I had to change my bobbin whilst it was out, so luckily it shows through. And so that's what I'm left with. Turning it inside out, obviously keeping the scissors just to do pointing into the seams, and I have my strip at the bottom so that I can use it to hold it together. And then last one. Oh, there it is. I'm in shot, aren't I? Good, good, good. So what I should be left with is 3 petals held together at the bottom. And what I'm now going to do, I'm just pushing them out so that it's done, is with my needle and thread, is just pull them together. Actually, there's not enough there. Okay, so I know it's probably a bit of a boring bit really, but it is just an afterthought because this doesn't look very, it doesn't look very special, does it? It just, but as long as I've conveyed how to strengthen it, which was the plan, wasn't it, then I'm happy. And it's always one of those things, do I go and get some special fabric from the shop just to get my point across, or do I use what I've got? And I'm hoping you'll forgive me for just using what I have. So what I'm doing here is every 1/4 inch I'm doing a running stitch, and with luck, when I pull this together, I will have 3 petals. Now the other way of doing it is to wind the cotton round as well. If you were going to do this, I would recommend that you take off all the sewing machine bits of cotton, because although I'm doing this in a hurry, I am finding it a bit difficult just to tell them all apart, and because I use the sewing machine thread, then it does make it even more complicated for me. Okay, so there's my flower. I'm going to do the same with these 3 leaves. So it literally is in, out, in, out. And I'm trying to get all the loose ends at the bottom, as it were. So let me just push that all through. Swing that round. A couple more securing stitches. Yes, because rather than saving time, I am now trying to sew in all my loose ends. Okay. Do you know, there's a lot to be said for sewing it on the strap. And for some reason, I didn't actually sew this bit in. So, I suppose it was the beginning, wasn't it? Okay, let's do that. Okay, so I've got my sort of dummy flower. And I've got the bit at the beginning, which I haven't actually sewn in. I'm losing the plot, obviously. And now I can make use of that little mistake, and I can just run over there, and then it's got a bit more bulk to it, because that's all I felt that it was missing. Now this is going to make a horrible noise, and a case of, if you have a nice machine, then maybe you don't want to do this. If you have a machine that you know can do this, then you're quite happy to do it. So all I'm doing is assisting each beginning of the downstroke with the handle, and I'm pushing under the foot so that it continues to sew. And you can tell I'm pushing under the foot because I actually pushed the machine then. And the reason I'm doing that is because sometimes with this machine it doesn't really go through the feet part. So now I'm over on the flower, I have all my loose ends sewn in, and I have finished my handle. Wow. So yeah, don't do that unless you know your machine. I promise you that they are supposed to do that. So there we are with the side without the flower, and there we are with the side with the flower. And I can take just a few moments and just get that tidied up. And of course, my ever failing lovely job is I have to take off all my loose bits of thread. Anyway, I hope I haven't bored you with the extra bit, but I did want to get it done. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee.